Is this thing on? Yep, it's on. Hey guys and girls, it's your girl Judy O, aka Green Fire Motivation. And I am excited because it is Thought Bank Thursday, where I share from my thoughts to yours. If you haven't done so already, hit the share button, hit the like button, subscribe by all means, and hit that bell. That way, anytime I load videos, you will be notified directly. And so, bringing it down a notch, I'm going to go ahead and forewarn you, this may be one of my longer videos, but that's because I don't like to cut my thoughts short when it comes to Thought Bank Thursday, which is one of the reasons why I established this day, so that I can share my thoughts with you, unfiltered, uncensored, and you can just kind of walk around in my mind for a couple of minutes. And so we are continuing the Back to School series for the Green Fire Motivation channel. And the reason why I decided to do the Back to School series is because one of the things that I understand is most people around the world, have some form of a connection to the back to school scenario, whether it's a child, whether it's a parent, grandparent. The beginning of school is something that's really big, especially for children such as the ones I'll be teaching, because for some of them, going into a pre-K classroom is actually their first time moving into a structured setup for learning. They've been, home with the parents, maybe watching TV, playing outside, and pretty much doing what they want to do. So now they're being assimilated into the school structure, to where they learn rules, they learn boundaries, they learn how to communicate with their fellow students, they learn how to communicate with their teachers. They're also given, model behaviors to hone, their skills as human beings, to hone their personalities and all of those good things. And so Green Fire Motivation just wants to talk a little bit about how I prepared differently for this school year. And the ones that have been following the channel, thank you so much for your support. Without you, there would be no reason for a channel. And if this is your first time here, I would like to genuinely welcome you to Thought Bank Thursday, where I share from my thoughts to yours, because this is one of the times where I can kind of, I'm not going to say shed my energy per se, but more so bring it down to where I can actually talk with you eyeball to eyeball. And so this is my second year as a pre-K teacher. And the first year of pre-K was a complete eye-opener. Now, I'm not going to say, I wouldn't term it as a disaster per se, but I would say that I definitely faced quite a few challenges that I was not prepared for. Whether it was the trainings, whether it was timing, planning, preparing, challenging behaviors from students, and, many different things that a first year teacher may have heard about, but not actually experienced before. And so I do not feel like I prepared as much as I could have for all of what I would experience. But at the same time, you can't always prepare for an experience. There are many times where you just have to kind of take it as it comes, and then you prepare yourself for the next experience that could possibly be similar to that one, so that you take time to reflect on, what happened, why it happened, what were the details, or what was the environment like surrounding, the scenario or whatever it was that took place. And now that you've seen how, things played out in that scenario, what would you do differently? And so for me, being a teacher and being a student, I was actually getting hit, so to speak, from both ends of the spectrum. Because now I will say this, one of the things about an experience, right, is that you learn from it. You learn from it. Sometimes you learn the easy way, and sometimes you learn the hard way. So for me, I learned a lot of things through experience the hard way. Some things I just simply didn't know, and some things I just didn't have enough time to prepare for. And the reason why I say that is because I'm going to be completely transparent. As a first year teacher, this is what was taking place. I was starting school. So I was taking 2 courses, not one. I was taking 2 courses in school. I was preparing lesson plans for 18 brand new students. And and then I was, attempting to sleep. And then, it was just a lot, and anyone who is a first year teacher, could possibly identify with me or not, but it was definitely a year that I would not want to repeat in that manner. But that's the reason why I say the benefit of having an experience is that you get to reflect on it, and you get to figure out what you would do differently when. And see, in my scenario, it's not if I'll be presented with the same scenario, it's when I'll be presented with the same scenario. Because like I said, the children that I have, that are coming in, a lot of them are just coming fresh from home. So they're not familiar with, come in, wash your hands, go find a center to play in, wash your hands, go sit down and eat breakfast, throw your trash away, go sit down on the carpet so we can do circle time. Like, there are children who are not familiar with that. And so for them, it's a whole new crash course experience those first couple of weeks. And some of the children, they blend in well, and then there's those who need that extra help. And so for me, as a teacher, now that I understand, what it is that they're experiencing, because I knew, but I didn't truly understand, what they were experiencing and why some of them, reacted the way that they did. One of the things that I've learned, more recently, with taking a BSAT class, with Martin and Pitt Partnership for Children, is that all behavior is a form of communication. You just have to know how to read that communication. So when a kid is acting out, they're communicating with you. Now, it may not be what you would feel is the best method for them to use to communicate with you, but the thing is, you have to get in there and do your best to understand exactly what's causing the behavior. And only then can you move in with a strategy or a method or some form of assistance to help them through that patch, so that they also, if they should experience something similar to that scenario again, now they know how to handle it. And it's not something that happens overnight. It happens over time. Just like the children learning to write their names at the beginning of the year, they may write squiggly lines and say, "This is my name." Obviously, they've not been trained, they've not practiced to write their name. So according to them, this is their name, and you can't tell them any differently. But as they practice and as they start to form the letters, by the end of the year, most of my students last year were writing their first and last name. But in the beginning, if you looked at those papers from the beginning to the end, you'd be like, okay, right, okay. So, and it's the same thing, with behaviors. And so, once again, me as the teacher, it's up to me to model how the children should behave, because they're looking at me, and what I do, they're going to repeat. For lack of better terms, monkey see, monkey do. And while the children aren't monkeys, it's just basically saying that you're going to do what you see. And that's why children are considered sponges, because everything that they see, they soak it in. And when they're not in front of their parents, it comes out. So I'm just telling you, if you're a parent and you have a child, be very mindful of what you do and say in front of them, because they could be a whole room away, but that doesn't mean they don't hear you. And when they get to school, then we hear it. So I'm just saying, we have to model the appropriate behavior for the children, whether it's a parent, and me as a teacher, it's not only my job to do so, but I want to do it, because I realize that even if it wasn't my job, these children who are connected to me, they're looking at me to guide them in the right direction. And I do not ever want to be the reason why a child is acting in a certain way, especially in a negative way, or what could be deemed as inappropriate. And so in preparing differently for this school year, when I say the last 2 weeks, I've been working diligently, behind the scenes to get everything prepared so that when I go in the classroom, I'm not fumbling for what I'm going to do. I'm not fumbling for what I'm going to say. I'm not trying to figure out what comes next. All of it is getting planned out. And when I say planned out, I mean minute by minute, activity by activity, transition by transition. Why? Because I realized that was one of my weaker scenarios when it came to being in the classroom. This summer, I took a classroom management course, and, my professor, she did an amazing job, with laying out the coursework, with laying out the videos. And when I tell you, that course shed so much light on the different things that I was doing in the classroom that I have much room to improve upon this year. And because now that I see, how I acted in the past, I'm reflecting on those things and saying, okay, this is what I did. This is what I said. This is why I did it. This is why I said it. But could I have said that in a different manner that would have warranted a different response from the child, or even a better response from the child? What could I have added to that statement that would have opened their mind up just a little bit more, that would have added to their vocabulary just a little bit more? All of these reflections about, what I did or didn't do last year is how I am guiding myself to prepare differently for the new school year. Whether it's even in evaluations, I think that there were times where maybe I kind of didn't have as much confidence in the children as I should have, thinking, oh, maybe this is just too much, or maybe I'm going too fast, or maybe they're not catching it. But now understanding the importance of individualizing information for the children based on what's best and how they best learn, man, that is a major, major, major milestone to understand. That children learn differently, and if you're not catering to their learning needs, then some of that stuff is going to go over their head. And then if you don't follow up with the evaluation like you need to, you won't even realize that they missed it until it's time to do, the report cards or the evaluations, And so these are all the ways that I'm looking at preparing differently for this school year. And so while I talk a lot about while I'm talking about back to school this month and the back to school series, because that's going on all of this month in October for the Green Fire Motivation channel, it's important for me to bring this scenario directly to your doorstep. Okay? What are you working on currently in your life that you're trying to do better at? What are you working at that needs to be improved? I encourage you, Green Fire Motivation is encouraging you to look back on the way that you've handled prior situations, no matter what situation it is, work, church, school, home, even just walking to the grocery store. Reflect on those things and ask yourself those hard questions. And when I say hard, the reason why I say hard questions is because who wants to reflect? How many of us, and I'll raise my hand first, how many of us do not want to ever say that we did anything wrong? Me, okay? Type me in the box. Type me in the comments. Me, most of the time we don't want to admit when we've done something wrong. Or even if we do want to admit it at some point in time, we may not want to admit it right then, right? But going back to reflect on those scenarios, how it was handled, what happened, the details around it, help you to grow. Okay? They help you to move forward. They help you to become better. Because we know the green fire motivation slogan is green means go, right? Green fire motivation, green means go. Go. Green also means grow. So if you start reflecting on all of your past scenarios, situations, school years, and what have you, and ask yourself those hard questions, what happened and what could I have done differently to make the scenario have came out better than what it did? Man, you can make your life that much better just by asking yourself those questions. And the reason why I know is because I've started to do it. I've started to ask myself more often, what did I do? Why did I do it? If the scenario didn't turn out the way I anticipated, or if it was a negative turnout, I'm going back to think about, okay, what could I have done differently? What could I have said differently? Could I have been a little bit more open-minded about the scenario? All these different questions that I've been asking myself. And so all these different questions I've been asking myself. And so this has been Thought Bank Thursday, where I share from my thoughts to yours on the Green Fire Motivation channel. And so, like I said, what can you do to prepare differently for your future? What can you do to prepare differently for next week? What can you do differently to prepare for tomorrow? Answer those hard questions. And then leave some comments in the bottom on the comments, the responses to your own questions, if you like. Or, I'll drop some nuggets and some emeralds in the comments, just letting you guys know, the different ways that I'm preparing differently for this school year. And hopefully you guys will join me in the comments. So this is your girl, Green Fire Motivation, on the Green Fire Motivation channel, aka Judy O. And I will see you guys on Motivation Monday.